Good job, I'm Jerry. About to check out when Jeff Hardy returned to WWE in 2006. This video is by Wrestling Premiere. Jeff Hardy is returning in 2006 after being gone from WWE for 3 years. He left in 2003 after a match with The Rock on Raw. That was his last match on Raw ever until he came back. And I remember being 10 years old, man, and watching the previous episodes of Raw and them showing the vignettes of him returning on a certain episode, I think in August something, 2006. And he came out during the segment with Edge and Lita when Edge was still in the feud with John Cena over the WWE Championship, and him and Edge had their interactions and stuff like that. Man, it brought back so much nostalgia. But overall, let me see how Wrestling Premiere is going to break down this video. Like my video, man, subscribe to it, and let's go into the video.
The early 2000s at face value was supposed to be the time period where those young talents of the late 90s rose to success. If you look at the mindset and expectations from WWF 1999, you can clearly see who was positioned where.
Yep.
Edge was probably the biggest young talent, followed by the likes of Jericho, Angle, and these guys were expected to lead the company after the likes of Austin and Taker were gone. Funny enough, the latter was still there after all of them. Further down there was a talent who was much younger.
That's crazy. Undertaker was there before everybody. He outlasted everybody.
Accomplished a lot for a 22-year-old. He won the tag team titles with his brother, had a part in taking the ladder match to heights never seen before, and was one of the most popular guys on the roster. Hardy's sheer passion and charisma always made him one to watch, and this is regardless of what era we're talking about. They saw so much in him that they had him beat Triple H for the Intercontinental Championship in 2001. Of course, he lost that week, but everyone remembers the title victory more. Hardy's upside was slowly starting to become a reality, but then his personal issues outside the ring caused WWE to release him in April of 2003. He goes to ROH, the fans blew the ever-living hell out of him. They made fun of him for being fired. Despite this being a very dark time in his career, Hardy still believed he would return to WWE. The negotiations in early 2004 didn't really work out because Hardy was adamant on not going to rehab. They were apparently going to have him wrestle in the Cruiserweight division on SmackDown, and at the time it would have been a great addition to have Hardy, wrestling with the likes of Rey Mysterio, Chavo Guerrero, Jamie Noble, but it just wasn't to be. So he went to TNA. Hardy had a decent run there, but it ended after the company punished him for no showing an event, which Hardy claims was because of travel issues. Rumors circulated of Hardy returning once more, and on August 4, 2006, WWE.com confirmed it. Hardy was asked about his release in 2003 and denies it was because of rehab, and said that's all in the past. So now, he's preparing for the return. They played vignettes on WWE TV. They even had an interview with Hardy on WWE.com. All of this was shaping up to be a pretty good return, right? On the August 21st, 2006 episode of Raw, Jeff Hardy made his return, interrupting Edge's championship celebration. Right away, he got into the face of the champion and called him out.
I remember
Edge was seething and asked, "What the hell are you doing here?"
I thought you died 3 years ago.
And said that he ruined Matt's career and said that he's a no-talented loser like Jeff. They brawled, and while Jeff went to the top rope, Edge ran away. The very upset champion stormed into the coach's office and asked for a match against the charismatic Enigma.
This made me want to watch that episode of Raw.
Good showing. Unfortunately, though, Lita got involved, and then John Cena tossed Edge into the Long Island Stomp. One of the most iconic moments from this era. With that said, Hardy was gone for 3 weeks, yet it felt a bit longer than that. A lot happened, like ever since Hardy was released. Matt Hardy, he lost the Cruiserweight title, he turned into a babyface, the whole Lita incident occurred, he returned, this and that. However, the crowd still loved him as if he was always around. With the help of Carlito the following week, he beat Randy Orton, and not bad for somebody who was gone for 3 years. The following week, Jeff Hardy watched Johnny Nitro's press conference from the previous week, and Maria was clueless. Of course, he was watching paint dry, because Johnny Nitro in his eyes was boring. There's no vacuum. Hardy's victories over the past few weeks got him an Intercontinental Championship match.
I remember Jeff had braids.
Melina screwed him over from the win, and this gave him another title shot. Before Unforgiven, Johnny Nitro said he took offense over Jeff Hardy's paint dry comments, and he called Todd Grisham T, which was pretty damn corny, and said that himself and Melina are the hottest thing around. He's like, "Oh, how are we boring? This and that." Then he made fun of Mick Foley for liking Melina and her being 15 years younger. Then Jeff Hardy popped up on the screen. He's painting on the side, and once Nitro noticed, he pushed him and knocked down his painting, leading to him becoming a Michigan player, I guess. I love that part where Nitro's complaining and Hardy drops some blue on him, like, just shut up. This caused Nitro to wrestle with dry paint on.
We had to wrestle like that?
To be an iconic night for John Cena and Trish Stratus.
I forgot all about that.
Not really. His match with Nitro is a good opener. It was a good old classic opener, Hardy has momentum early, Nitro works on him, and the work lasted a bit too long, I'd say. Nitro isolated Jeff's leg and went for a submission holds that did a number on him, and Hardy's efforts led to him making a comeback, but Melina's boot ended it, and Nitro retained the title. Good match, good opener, but compared to the other matches these two had in the future, it pales in comparison. The next night, same story. Hardy's efforts were so damn close to giving him the gold, but Nitro was the opportunistic rat and found a way to retain the title. Shelton Benjamin, meanwhile, felt that he was being overlooked because he was black, and the coach mentioned how he never capitalized on his opportunities. Because, Shelton Benjamin had several title shots in 2006, but he lost. Coach shilled for McMahon and mentioned how he looks up to Martin Luther King, but then Shelton got even more frustrated and asked Coach, "What do you know about being a black man in this industry?" He's like, "You're whitewashed." He said Dick Cheney has more soul than the coach, when all of a sudden Jeff Hardy comes in with the most basic slang, the Izzo, this and that. You guys know what I'm talking about. The coach decided, I'm going to book you in a match against Jeff Hardy. Benjamin's frustrations once again led to him losing it. That's a different story. And this was enough to give Hardy another title shot. This time around, Hardy was well aware of the champion's tactics, and Melina was trying something once more, but Hardy accidentally took her out and hit the Swanton to win the Intercontinental Championship. Well deserved. Hardy, in terms of popularity, quickly climbed the ranks of WWE. He had good performances. The fans loved him. He had charisma. Why wouldn't he win the title? Hardy said that he came back to Raw because of this and knew that he was a target. He said that everyone wants to strip him of his belt, so Maria promoted Extreme Script Poker. Melina comes in, starters over his words before shouting to the mic. With Cyber Sunday coming up, Jeff Hardy was set to defend the IC title in the match. Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, and Johnny Nitro.
Fans' choice.
Carlito won this thing by a landslide, and the match itself was decent, but not much to talk about. Carlito slowed down the pace, forcing Jeff to work from under. Hardy makes the comeback and wins it just like that. It's not notable by the looks of it. They expected Nitro to win because the work in this match was very, very, very basic. And speaking of Nitro, he got the title shot the next night on Raw. Oh yeah, K-Fed had an elbow. Just as the match starts, Melina gets involved. The ref warns her, but she did it a second time, and the match ended in a DQ. Eric Bischoff, though, likes controversy, so he made it a no disqualification match. After the commercial, Hardy was putting a whooping on Nitro, and Melina decided to run into the ring. This distraction gave Nitro enough time to counter the Swanton and blast Hardy with the title to win it. Okay, I don't remember this title victory at all. I do know that Nitro won the title again, but I don't seem to recall it going this way. This match in particular was very forgettable. It just happened like that.
I was 10 at the time, so I vaguely remember anything.
The pace was much quicker and added to the match. And this episode of Raw was in Manchester, so you knew that they were going to go all out for the English fans. At one point, Hardy caught Nitro with a nice powerbomb before hitting the Swanton. Melina's on the ropes after pulling Jeff's foot. Nitro capitalizes and hits the corkscrew. I thought this was it. Nitro would win it. He'd be going out with the title when Hardy went for the crucifix pinfall attempt and wins the title himself. Damn, that was kind of a shock. Of course, Nitro wasn't happy about this and attacked. This time, though, he brought out a ladder and went to the top, dropping it on the champion. Shortly afterwards, a rematch between the two was made for the title. This time, though, it was a ladder
Jeff Hardy
match. The ladder match is a hidden gem. Nitro made fun of Hardy for trying to kill himself, and about this, well, yeah, he tried. What's nice about this is that at the time, ladder matches were kind of rare. The last time a ladder match had occurred on Raw was in January, and seeing stuff like this on TV is nice. Hardy was going for risks. They showed great athleticism. I mean, how many times have you seen a standing drop kick in the middle of a ladder match? It's straight out of a video game. Just looks like something you do in SVR07. Only other guy that could pull something like that is Shelton Benjamin. Maybe they should have added him to the match for the sake of it. Hardy went from a Swanton on to John Cena, and these two stole the show easily. Jeff in particular wanted to get injured by the looks of it, but he finally had enough and retrieved the title. Awesome match. It's not an all-time ladder match, but I think it deserves a watch. These guys really went all out on free TV, and they had a pay-per-view match later that week, and in a way, this match overshadowed it. Nitro was out here hitting drop kicks like it's normal. Hardy hit a leg drop that would make Hulk Hogan cringe, and Melina screaming on the outside, which is not a good thing. I just wanted to mention that. What more could you want? Well, maybe Shelton Benjamin. The next night on ECW, the Hardy Boys reformed for the first time in 4 years. All that was missing was Lita, although Matt Hardy probably prefers it that way. This match against the FBI was a showcase thing to show you, hey, this is the Hardys. You might have missed them, or for new viewers, hey, these guys are pretty damn good. And this combo seems insane. ECW was somewhat loose when it came to brand extension things, but anyways, Team Extreme being back is best for business. At that time, I thought these two were the coolest wrestlers, maybe jumping off stuff, being fearless, all that. They featured in DX's Survivor Series team with CM Punk, and I don't gotta say it, but this is one of the most over tag teams I've ever seen. Yeah. CM Punk in particular had a nice moment, and this team steamrolled through the heels with ease. They destroyed them just like that. They made a team consisting of Rated RKO, Johnny Nitro, and Gregory Helms seem like jobbers. Poor Mike Knox was disrespected the most, with HBK randomly eliminating him. Also, I just like to say, I love this match more than
who
most.
Was that?
It's really nice seeing the Hardys and DX team up. You know, these two were some of my favorite tag teams around this time period.
I love DX during that time.
After destroying Ric Flair, Rated RKO were set to defend the gold against Matt and Jeff. Once again, Edge praised Jeff before trashing Matt as always. Raid RKO were pretty hard here. You know, they're like, oh, about to do this and that. But when Matt Hardy came in, they're all like, oh, leave it in the ring, this and that. As you may know, this didn't end the way the Hardys supposed it would, but the road to getting there was interesting.
They won the titles in 07.
They added to the match. JR's commentary too. When Jeff hit the swanton, you thought it was over, but Edge blessed him with a title, and they attack afterwards to end the show on top. Now, at the time, the Hardys reuniting was the talk. It was something notable. Seeing as they were back, they issued an open challenge to any team. When we say any, we mean the Motor City Machine Guns, LAX. When WWE says any, they're referring to the guys within the company. Yeah. The reason why I'm saying this is because the New Age Outlaws, or as they were called at the time, the Voodoo King Mafia, accepted the challenge. The funniest part in all of this is when BG James said, you have until this Thursday night before Impact goes on the air to give us an answer. Bro, I don't think they even heard the question itself. But with that said, just for the sight, not the match itself, because I doubt anyone would talk about it, the sight of seeing someone from TNA face the Hardys in 2006 would have been nice. Eminem, though, accepted and kept the Hardys. Now, you're probably wondering, none of these guys are related to ECW. The only relation is the Hardys being Extreme. Well, thank God this match was added because these four men carried. There's some semblance of good on this pay-per-view from these guys, because other than this, the show itself was very questionable.
You look at the card and wonder
why. The Hardys and Eminem went for almost a half an hour, put on one.
Was that 07 when Joey Mercury got his nose broken?
Because the Hardys and Eminem saved any card they were brought in to add to the Lundrick and Regal and Taylor tag team match. Initially, these two were set to face off in a normal tag team match, but Teddy Long was giving up. He made it a ladder match and brought out the other teams. This decision really helped the pay-per-view.
He got his nose broken.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty biased towards this pay-per-view. I used to watch it all the time until that DVD stopped working, but you gotta agree with me that this match was a welcoming surprise. Lundrick's run didn't really have that threat element to it, and it didn't feel like they had a huge challenge. This match was just that, and this is the coldest take you'll hear today, a take that's colder than half the hot takes on wrestling Twitter, but this match was awesome. Before the Mercury incident, there was already some dangerous spots, but the moment itself, just a few inches and it would have been avoided. But that didn't happen, and Joey Mercury was pouring blood like hell.
Boy, got his face
screwed up his career because he got addicted to the painkillers that were prescribed to him afterwards. As to this match, they were still going for these spots like nothing happened earlier, and once the chaos settled down, it was Lundrick who emerged victorious. This should have elevated
I love Paul London and Brian Kendrick.
For the Hardys and Eminem, though, the feud continued. Joey Mercury blamed the Hardys for his nose injury, and on Raw, Johnny Nitro was still pursuing the Intercontinental Championship. Their steel cage match was good, and for Hardy, it was another successful title defense, and while it wasn't as good as their ladder match, it was nice. Eminem were still hell-bent on giving the Hardys a receipt for their actions at Armageddon, so they faced off at the Royal Rumble. JR billed this as a final encounter, but little did he know. The expectations these two had were met, and once again, Eminem lost. But unfortunately for Hardy, his return to the singles competition didn't come off to the best start. For one, Great Khali destroyed him in a match for the IC title, and while he did lose, he lost by countout, meaning he retained the title. Then he was set to defend the title against Umaga, who was in form. Umaga dropped him like a bad habit with ease and became the new Intercontinental Champion. His rematch, if you could call it that, was so one-sided, as Hardy almost never did anything notable, but it got better from here on. He qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, which during the build was mostly centered on Edge pissing off as many men he could, including his partner Randy Orton. Edge's ego in the cutting edge segment showed that he thought everyone in the ring was inferior to him, and he told Matt Hardy he's shocked that he's even on WrestleMania, so he responded mentioning the ladder match victories he has. He told Edge that he's going to lay flat on his back like his ex-girlfriend. Everyone trashed him, and when he got to Jeff, he said that he was out to steal the show, even if he had to go through his own brother and get the briefcase. About that, yeah, Jeff Hardy killed Edge in the match. At this point, if you watch this match, you'll know that there's no two other guys that wanted to see somebody fail as badly as the Hardys did with Edge. They despised him, they hated him, they sacrificed themselves to prevent him from winning Money in the Bank.
That's a crazy spot.
The Hardys featured in the second tag team battle royal for the titles. Cena and HBK's issues cost them the titles and allowed for new champions.
This is when they won the titles. I remember watching the episode.
Arcade and Murdoch were giving them a hard time, but Matt and Jeff pulled up and won the titles. For the first time in 6 years, Jeff Hardy...
First and last time they won the championships in WWE together. Since coming until they came back.
Benjamin and Haas posed the challenge for the champs, but they had the first match as new champions boost, which meant they won. Cade and Murdoch, though, were still chasing the Hardys in that backlash. They faced off. Good match. It's probably the first thing I think of if someone asks about Cade and Murdoch. They set the template to follow.
R.I.P. Lance Cade.
Weirdly enough, the duo weren't exactly annoyed about losing. If anything, they had a lot of praise for the Hardys beating them. After Hardy beat Nitro, they wanted to shake his hand. That didn't work out. The following week, they did that again, and it seemed like these two had changed. The sportsmanship Cade and Murdoch showed was very unusual, and at one point, Murdoch lost to Hardy in a close match, but swallowed his pride and shook his hand. They went 2 for 2 with another good-ass matchup at Judgment Day. The challengers isolated Jeff long enough to wear him down. Once Matt entered, that's a different story. The Hardys looked almost unstoppable, and once again, they were retained. Respect is shown, and it's up to the next challengers. At this point, Nitro and Dykstra were hungry. They wanted a title shot, but so did Benjamin and Haas. After the champions beat the heels in an 8-man tag team match, Shelton and Benjamin pointed out that Haas and himself technically didn't lose, so he wanted the Hardys at one night stand. They accepted and wanted a ladder match. Matt and Jeff's reputation in the ladder match speaks for itself. Haas and Benjamin had some experience, but this was the Hardys. These guys were ladder match icons. The only guys that were better than them in the ladder match were Edge and Christian. With that said, this was another good match for the Hardys, as it's a ladder match, so the bar for them is extremely low. You know you're going to get a good match. For some reason, both teams spammed throwing the ladder at the other. And watching this, I don't know if the ladder matches in the 2000s looked more violent or I'm seeing stuff, because these spots looked so damn rough. Poor Shelton over here took a backdrop and landed on the side. Then you have the normal spots, normal stuff such as Charlie Haas hitting reverse overthrows. And the team eventually rivaled the Hardys in spots and went for stuff like this. You know these guys were struggling hitting these spots and whatnot. It didn't feel smooth, it felt gritty and raw in a way. That's what makes this match good in my opinion. The Hardys retained the titles and the challengers regret getting involved, saying this is how you make a living. Shelton held the Hardys responsible for Charlie Haas's injuries, and after Hardy got up in his face, they brawled. The next night on Raw, Cade and Murdoch congratulated the duo and made a challenge for the titles. They didn't want the title shot that night, but since McMahon's behavior was erratic and more inconsistent than WCW 2000, he booked them in a title match against Cade and Murdoch. The challengers were fair for the most part during the match. Then Hardy missed the swanton and Cade went for the cover. He's got his foot on the rope and Murdoch pushes it away, and then the new champions. Matt tries to confront them and takes a belt to the face.
Damn.
Now, Dino Buddy Buddy was a ploy, and despite this, they were still supporting Jeff in his match against Daivari. After the match, Cade claimed that the Hardys showed them the most unsportsmanlike conduct. That's why they responded by cheating, and they did it for themselves and their fans. Now, I need to know, is there any of you guys in the comment section that are fans of Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch? Because I've never stumbled upon a fan of theirs. Anyways, really. Hardy responded to this with a crossbody. Their match at Avengers Night of Champions was decent, but unfortunately, the Hardys lost and the team went their separate ways for a bit. For Jeff Hardy, it was back to the IC title scene where he had a couple of matches with Umaga, which culminated in him winning the title. Overall, Jeff Hardy's return was a nice addition to the roster. The fans quickly took a liking to him again, and if anything, he was more popular than ever before. His placing on the card was much better than before. When you look at him here, you believe there's actually a chance of him reaching the main event scene because of how charismatic, how exciting, how great he was. His matches and performances were better here, and he had a sense of optimism and humbleness. Hardy realized the opportunity that was given to him and scored a home run. Up to this point, you wouldn't hear any issues, and in some ways, it would only get better from here on. Alright, what's the best match from this run so far? Personally, in my opinion, I'm going to go with the ladder match with Johnny Nitro. That was my favorite match here watching it. I was seeing Hardy go insane along with Nitro, who was hitting standing drop kicks. But the ladder match at One Night Stand is a close second. That match was pretty damn good. Alright, what do you guys think of Jeff Hardy's run? Please comment down below and answer for this video. Make sure you hit the whisper in the wind on the like button, or perhaps a swanton bomb on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.
I myself personally, I loved when Jeff Hardy returned to WWE in 06, man. Because it set up the success that he had in 08 and 09 until he left in 09. And man, Jeff was definitely one of my favorite wrestlers back then. Still one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But back then, on Raw, my favorite wrestlers were John Cena, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Jeff Hardy. On SmackDown, Batista was my favorite wrestler in general. But outside of Batista, it was Rey Mysterio, Undertaker, and Matt Hardy. But man, when Jeff came back, man, it was like so much success and so much. It was like it was so exciting every single week seeing him come out on Raw and feud with Nitro, and then him and Mac joining back up together and all that. Man, I wish they would have had better tag teams during that time to actually kind of feud with and coexist with, and just kind of have great dance partners. But overall, man, let me know what y'all thought of my reaction to this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.